In this presentation, we're going to explore the Properties panel in CS5. We're just going to take a little test drive here. Now I've already got a file open here called 01firstanimation.xfl, and we'll just take a look again, as I said, to the Properties panel. Now it's over on the right hand side here. You can see that the tools are on the left, timeline on the bottom, stage in the middle, and again our panels on the right hand side. Now the beauty of this newer interface is many things are very collapsible and expandable. So I will click on Properties, which will expand it out, as you will see here. Now the thing about Properties is that this information will reflect the currently selected item. So right now, if I click on the stage in an empty area, and I'll just pop that back open again, I am looking at basically the movie properties. You can see here down in the middle where it says Properties, I've got frame rates, which is how many frames play per second. I've got my stage size, and I've got my stage color. Now if I want to change the background color of my movie, I can click on this white box next to stage, which is a swatch, and just pick another color out of my choices. So if I wanted to have a school bus yellow, click there, and lo and behold, we have the new color in the background. If I want to edit the size of my movie, right now it is currently at its default 550 by 400 pixels. I can click on the edit button and make a change there. I'm actually going to leave everything the way it is right now and click OK. Now I'm going to collapse that panel again, so I can just hit this double arrow here. Now if you look up on top of the stage, there's a little window with a percentage in it and a pull down menu. Now I can use this to resize the view of my stage. In other words, zoom in and zoom out. I do have a zoom tool here as well. Let me try that first. I'll try the zoom tool, click on it. And basically it zooms to where I've clicked. So if I click down here, you can see that it's zoomed into that section. Now if I want to zoom out, you can see my cursor changing. I'm using the keyboard command. On the Mac it's the Option. On the PC it's the Alt key. So on a PC I would click Alt and then click, and that would zoom it out. And I can always see my percentage here, and I can continue to zoom out and make it quite small if I want, or zoom in and get right in very close, as you can see. Now let's say I want to fit my whole stage area into my display area that I can see. Well, I'll go up to the top here and go to the pull down menu, and there are a number of options here, but if I go Fit in Window, which is what I will choose, it just snaps everything to fit. So even though if I resize, you can see here when I go in between panels, I get a resize icon. That stage will resize accordingly and always show me the entire contents of what's on the stage. And you can see the percentage changing as I zoom up and down. So I'll give it a bit more size here because I don't really need a lot of my timeline in this exercise. I'm going to go up to my selection tool, which is the black arrow, which is what we would normally use to select an item on the stage. Now this file already came with what is known as a movie clip, and that's something we will explore in depth very soon. But for now, let's just click on that wheel. And you can see that it's highlighted. There's a blue marquee around it which tells me it's highlighted. You will also notice in the timeline that it is highlighted there as well. And I can scrub back and forth here, and I can see the whole duration, and it seems to be spanning across 75 frames of my movie. So let me zoom back to the beginning here. Okay, so I'm going to click on my wheel again. It's currently highlighted. Okay, so now that my wheel is highlighted, I'd like to apply a feature that comes with the newer CS packages, and that is something called Motion Preset, which is basically an established animation that's already built for us, and we literally can just apply it to the selected object on stage. So in this case, I'd like to do what will look like a bouncing ball effect, if you will. So I think I'll start by dragging my wheel to the top of the stage area, because it's going to bounce downward and look like it's hitting the ground and then bounce again and look like gravity is affecting it. Now I don't see my motion presets inside of my panel, so I will need to call it up by going up to my Window pull down menu. So I'll click on Window, and there it is there, Motion Presets. So I'll click on that to select it. and it appears as a panel floating on my desktop here. Now the nice thing about these panels is that I could attach this over here to these panels and then it would be collapsible, and let me do that. What I do is I drag it by the gray bar and then drag it over underneath this current panel, and you can see a blue line appears. That means that if I release this, it will affix itself to that panel. So I'll let it go. And now I do have the icon representing motion presets, and I can pop that open by clicking on the icon, and I can also close it by doing the same thing, clicking on the icon again. I can also tear it away again if I like, so I can grab it by what looks like a little handle here at the top, tear it out, and it becomes its own floating panel, and it's still collapsible at this stage. So I can still click it to open, click it to collapse. If I want it to stay open at all times, I can click it open once here, and then just drag that around, and that gets rid of its sort of collapsible feature. And now it's just basically a normal panel floating around my screen. I will reattach this though, and have it as a collapsible panel. So again, I want to apply a motion preset to my wheel. I can see that my wheel is currently selected. I do have the blue marquee around it indicating that it is selected. So let me pop open my motion presets again. And if you look inside of here, there are two folders. One called default presets, which are pre-built and they come with every edition of Flash. And then custom presets, which is very powerful. You can ultimately create animations and then save them as presets. Now, that would save you a lot of time if you have to reapply the same animation over and over again in your projects. For now, we're just going to simply use an existing preset in the default folder. So I will open that by clicking on the little arrow here. Now I can scroll up and down. There are a number of them here that you should probably go through and play with and explore. But I'm going to choose the one called Bounce Smoosh. I happen to know that that gives me a bouncing ball effect. Now again, with my wheel currently selected, I select the preset. And once I do that, you do see a preview of the animation, which is very useful. And to apply that, of course, I click the Apply button. And here we go, Apply. Now you can see here, there's a motion guide that appears. And I'm going to collapse this for now. I'm just going to hit the little arrow here. And I'm going to preview this animation by hitting my Enter or Return key on my keyboard. And there we go. A pre-established animation called a motion preset. And if I want to watch that again, I'll just hit my Enter key again. And you notice the playhead in the timeline moves across. Now one thing I had done previously, so that I could see more of this because I'm on a very small screen, is that I readjusted the display of my timeline. I can click on this little icon here, and if I go back to normal, you'll see that the frames are spaced out accordingly. But if I don't want to have to scroll across, I can actually shrink the view of these frames by going up here, and I have small and tiny, so I'll choose tiny. And then I can see almost all of them anyway. And these little diamonds are indicating keyframes, and that's something we will get into shortly as well when we learn how to do animation manually. So once again, hit my return key. There's my preset motion. Now besides just hitting my return key to preview my animation, I can also scrub through. So let me just scroll back here by clicking above the layers in the timeline. And you can see when I click, it moves the playhead to where I've clicked, but I can click and hold and click and drag, and I can scrub back and forth. The other way to preview that is a more manual way, if you will. If I go up to Window, Toolbars, choose Controller, then I literally have a controller on screen. Now, most of the time I'll never pop this open, I'll just use my Enter key on the keyboard. But it's there for you, so if I hit play, bing bang boom. If I hit rewind, it goes back to the beginning. If I hit play again, there we go, and I can stop it and play it and so on. And this will be one frame at a time. And so on. So I'm going to close the controller. But just so you know that you can actually use a mouse click to control the start, stop, and stepping through the timeline as well. So now we need to save our file. I'm going to go up to File, Save, Save As. The reason I'm going to Save As is I actually want to save this as a FLA file, a Flash document. So under Formats, you can see that you can also save it backwards to CS4, but we're going to go CS5 document.fla. This current file is a .xlf, or rather .xfl, which is a project file as opposed to a document file. So let's, for today, choose CS5 document, and then click on the name, and I'll just adjust the name. I don't want to have the 2 dots in the file name. So I'll just go across here. So it's 01-1 first animation.fla. And I already had a folder that I've been saving my Flash work in. So I will save it in that same folder, then click Save. Okay, now that file is saved. Now I do highly recommend that you save your work quite often, because if your computer ever crashes, and they do, you will lose all the work up until the crash. Whatever is saved will be there when you come back. So if you don't save for half an hour, that's a half an hour's work you've just lost. So save frequently, every few minutes, or every major step that you do inside of your animation. So that was just a brief introduction focusing on the panels, and one in particular, the motion presets.